Yo, what's going on, nerds? Welcome everybody to Weeaboo Wednesday. Weeaboo Wednesday is of course just your typical weeaboo Japanese anime weekly news show that I do. So welcome aboard, and please stay a while. We're going to start off today like we have the past few shows, where I'm going to ask you to vote on something. When I finally decide to sit down and complete a kit and then review it, should I do the real grade Crossbone Gundam? I mean, this thing is pretty cool, and I got him at a good deal. Or should I do something else that I've had on the show before? The Keroro Gunso Kero Robo, or Robo Kero Mark II. Tell me in the comments below, and maybe this will get reviewed. But yes, welcome again to Weeaboo Wednesday. Of course, as usual, I have plenty of stories, so let's start getting through these things. One lucky fan will get to see the Evangelion Rebuild number 4 before anybody else gets to see it in June 2020. That's right, they're holding a contest to judge who's the biggest Evangelion fan. It's called the Eva Love Number 1 Championship, Me and Evangelion. Those who are willing to compete are basically needing to submit a fandom resume, which explains why they're the number 1 Evangelion fan and why they deserve to see it before anybody and how they're a bigger fan than anybody else. The biggest fan will be chosen as the winner, and they will get to see the movie before the premiere. Now, I don't think I'm the biggest Eva fan, because there's some crazy folks out there that are really into it, but I'm a pretty big Eva fan, so I wish I could compete in this, but unfortunately, it's just not in the cards for us hamburgers. Nioh 2 Japanese Boogaloo is going to be coming out for the PlayStation 4, which has recently been announced by Koei Tecmo. If you remember Nioh, it was this Japanese-themed game where you were playing as a samurai fighting against other like undead samurai and yokai and all this other stuff. It was actually a really cool Japanese-themed action combat game. A lot of people were calling it Dark Souls with Japanese stuff, basically. And yeah, I guess you could probably say that was pretty true, but apparently it's nowhere near as hard as Dark Souls. But still, it was an interesting game all the same, and there's going to be a new Nioh, Nioh 2. It's been since 2017 since there was a Nioh game, and these games have been made by Team Ninja, who have done the Dead or Alive games, Ninja Gaiden stuff. They've done some great games, and I can't wait to see what they do with Nioh 2. Hopefully there will be more yokai in this one, as there were some in the first one, which really surprised me. One Punch Man Season 2 and Kimetsu no Yaiba Demon Slayer is going to be going over to Toonami starting October 12th. If you recall, a couple other series were getting added to the Toonami lineup, such as Dr. Stone, Lupin the Third, the newest season of it, and additionally Gundam The Origin. So there's a lot of stuff going over to Toonami, and it's nice to see such a diverse cast of different anime that are going up, so that's pretty cool. Demon Slayer has been killing it. A lot of people are really into this, so they definitely picked up the right anime to be putting on with that block. If you're a hamburger like me and you have been following the Weeaboo news, the most recent Trigger movie, Promare, is now in theaters. As of today, which I'm filming this on a Tuesday, it actually came out today. So the English version was premiered in US theaters across the states, and on the 19th they'll be showing the subbed version. So if you missed the dub, or if you just preferred to see the sub, you can go see it this week on Thursday. So you still have time to get together and see this awesome movie. I can't wait. I really want to see this. If you're not familiar, Natsume's Book of Friends is an amazingly heartwarming story about a young boy who basically has to help yokai kind of like come to settle with their terms of being put back into the book of yokai that basically held them all, and they get out at one point and he has to go through and solve problems for them and get them all consolidated back into this, because if not, they're going to wreak havoc upon the world. But in such, he actually makes friends with a lot of these monsters, and it is an incredibly heartwarming story. There's so many interesting yokai, and they're depicted in such really awesome and visceral ways that a lot of other places may be sort of afraid to depict yokai like, because yokai can be kind of scary, and this show has a great balance of cute and creepy, and it blends it all together, and it's just really heartwarming. But still, there was an anime movie that came out not terribly long ago, and they're going to be releasing it on Blu-ray. Aniplex picked this up, and it's going to be coming out in November, so that's nice. It's going to have English subs, no English dub, which is how I prefer it. I do not need to see Natsume's Book of Friends in English, but yeah, if you're into that, then definitely check it out. There was a trailer premiered, and that'll be playing right here, so hey, definitely look at it. It is an awesome series. I cannot recommend it enough. Steins Gate Zero was the spin-off series that happens after a certain part of Steins Gate. It kind of bridges 2 episodes with another timeline, but it's a whole series and a whole other game and all this other stuff. But even still, in this series, there is a thing called Amadeus, which is a project where they're recreating a scientist named Makise Kurisu, and she is rather important to the main character of Steins Gate. If you've watched it, she's a scientist who he meets, and let's just say they get very close and stuff happens. And yeah, so basically what happens in the Steins Gate Zero timeline is that she's recreated in an AI application, which is used to kind of gather information and interact with people, and it's supposed to respond the way that that person would respond to people in real life. It's a really weird, creepy kind of Big Brother theme where it was used sort of nefariously, but at the same time, it did have good intentions in some ways, but still, that's besides the point. This thing is potentially going to be coming out in real life. Yes, it would seem that the Mage's Twitter account has announced that there's work going on that's going to create Amadeus for real. This is honestly really creepy because they're talking about how they're going to use it in a way that gathers information from a bunch of participants who are essentially going to be entered into a lottery. People that want to do this are going to be put into a sort of beta test, but they're going to be chosen by lottery, and the application is going to use its information with the people to gather together to create this interactive experience with Makise Kurisu. This is really weird because I even said while I was watching Steins Gate Zero, this seems very real. This seems very reminiscent of things that are going on right now with Alexa and all these other weird virtual assistants, right? But this was a recreation of this person in their brain, essentially, digitally. It gets so crazy that in one part of the series, the main character starts to really fall for this AI. He really starts to feel like it is a representation of her because she's not there with him, and he starts to really get into talking to this thing to a point where he's shutting himself away from the world. I think that's a great way to mirror what could potentially happen with this actual tech, and it freaks me out to think that it's going to be made. Let's just hope that the other terrible things that happen after the creation of Amadeus do not happen on this timeline. Yokai Watch 4 is getting released on PS4. In addition to being released on the Nintendo Switch, Level 5 will also be making this actually port over to the PS4, which is really weird because so far all the Yokai Watch games have been entirely on Nintendo systems. All the originals were on the DS, and now we have this new one that was on the Switch, but they already decided to port it over to PS4, which is crazy to think. I do like the idea of them broadening the user base for this and making it so that more people can enjoy it, because not everybody buys Nintendo consoles. Some people think they're child systems, but still, I'm happy to see that Yokai Watch, which is arguably a child's game, is going to be marketed to a wider audience, which is great because it's a wonderful series. At Tokyo Game Show, there have been quite a few reveals for video games coming out, and it would seem that Spike Chunsoft, which is a pretty famous company known for publishing and even developing certain games, such as many dating sim games, or visual novels rather, have been released through Spike Chunsoft, and they're going to be releasing a new Way of the Samurai game. They're not making it, Acquire is making it, but still, it's going to be a spin-off of the Way of the Samurai series. If you're not familiar, Way of the Samurais was a very popular series of action-adventure games on the PlayStation. So originally it was on PS2, there was some on PS3, and now there's going to be one coming out on the Nintendo Switch, the PC, and even the PS4 in 2020. It's wonderful to see the renewal of a series that is so beloved by many, and it's even got this amazing new flair where it looks very stylized, sort of reminding me of the Muramasa games, if you're familiar with those from VanillaSoft, and those were great, but the visual style is very reminiscent of that in some ways. Still, it looks pretty rad, so let's hope that it's good. So, Yuji Naka is the creator of Sonic, and he is actually recently joined up with Square Enix back in January. And it would seem that on Twitter he's recently announced that he's working on an original action game that's going to be coming out through Square Enix. Nobody can overstate how much of an impact Sonic had on the gaming community. Over the years, it hasn't seen the best releases, and it's certainly become somewhat infamous in a lot of ways, but still, it's interesting to see that the creator is finally working on something new and original, and with Square Enix behind him, who knows what he could make? Blade of the Immortal finally got another trailer, and oh my goodness, we got some serious substance here. I need to talk long enough so that you guys can watch this because this looks amazing. We also got a release date. It's going to be coming out October 10th, and as you may previously remember, it's going to be an Amazon Prime exclusive. We also got to hear the opening theme song for the series as well. Survive of Vision by Kiyoharu is the name of the song, and yeah, it plays at the end of this trailer, but man, this looks crazy. I'm sure I don't need to say it, but this anime looks incredibly gory, very violent, very dark, and very, very gritty. This is exactly what I wanted. After flipping through the pages of this manga, I realized that this was not your average kids sort of shonen where you pick it up and, oh, cool, they're fighting with swords. No, people are being dismembered, there's blood everywhere, and it is dark, boy. Let me tell you. It's everything that a badass samurai anime needs to be. And oh man, am I just even more excited to see this. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that Blade of the Immortal could very well be a contender for one of the best anime of 2019 or 2020. I'm not sure how long it's gonna run. If it's gonna be a 50-something episode series, then it could run for quite a while, which might last us into next year, but still, it looks amazing. That's how confident I am in this. Gatebox is a very innovative company, let's just say. They have worked on the ability to talk to 2D characters over the years, where they've made it so that you can talk to an anime waifu. Additionally, they've also been able to make it so that you can register for marriage with your 2D waifu as well. So it comes as no surprise that they're recently releasing some sort of strange virtual assistant slash digital girlfriend via hologram. That is a mouthful of things to say, and it's even harder to comprehend when you hear it. But if you watch the video here, you'll see that there's this strange device. There's a little capsule, and inside of this capsule, there's a hologram of an anime girl, which looks slightly reminiscent of Hatsune Miku. Still, the character talks to the man in the video as he comes home. It helps him turn on the TV because he asks it to turn on the TV. It talks to him, it greets him, it's nice to him, and it even wakes him up in the morning as well and wishes him well on his way out to work. I'm not quite sure what else this thing does, but it reminds me a lot of Alexa, I guess, in a way, but with a bit more personality, and it's a little bit sweeter, a little bit kinder, and ultimately, maybe a little bit more passionate. The idea that these virtual assistants are getting so intrusive in our lives is getting a little creepy, and with the fact that men are obsessed enough with waifus as it is, this can only lead to even worse. What's crazy is that this thing's going into mass production, and it's going to be releasing this October. October 11th it's coming out, and on the 12th and 13th there's going to be a release party in Tokyo. The real kicker is that this thing is 150,000 yen. 150,000, meaning this thing is a whopping $1,390. That's really expensive for a little virtual waifu. And we tease the guy who married a character on his Nintendo DS. On September 10th, a 40-year-old man was arrested for a string of robberies in Tokyo. The man reportedly robbed multiple stores such as Lawson and Family Mart with a Walther P38 pistol. When confronted, he was in possession of it, and it turned out that this was a toy. It would seem that this was a replica of the gun from Lupin III. Now, when confronted with security footage and the allegation that he had robbed several stores with this pistol, he denied it, saying that he carried the gun around as part of his undying love for the Lupin III series. It's an interesting defense, but I don't think it's going to hold up in court. But still, with the recent passing of Monkey Punch, the creator of Lupin III, I thought this was strangely relevant to the times. But ultimately, it just goes to show you that crime doesn't pay, especially when you're this silly. I've got a little bit of Pokemon news here, which is pretty interesting. First off, Pokemon Go recently added the Pokemon from the Unova region. So Pokemon such as Tepig, Snivy, Oshawott, and plenty of other Pokemon from Pokemon Black and White are now available to catch in Pokemon Go. This, of course, adds a bunch of Pokemon as eggs as well, so certain eggs will get you exclusive Pokemon that are a little bit harder to catch in the wild, and sometimes impossible to catch in the wild, which of course is going to bring some new legendaries, and it just further fleshes out Pokemon Go with even more Pokemon to catch. It's crazy how much this game has grown, and people still do play it, including myself, so great, Pokemon has more Pokemon in it. The Pokemon Sword and Shield official website presented a fake glitch to reveal a teaser for a new Pokemon. This was a pretty interesting way of doing things, because if you go to the Pokemon website and you go to see this little image, you hover your mouse over it, and it dashes to the other side of the screen. You can then follow it over and click it. It actually kind of resembles a screenshot from a classic Pokemon game. It's much more pixelated. And when you click it and bring everything up on screen, there's some information about this Pokemon and a bunch of glitched text. The image kind of looks like Cubone to me, but the Pokemon is listed as a fighting Pokemon. It's a very specific 257.9 pounds, and it possesses the Steadfast ability. The description describes it as, only blank have survived many battles can attain this blank. When Pokemon's blank blankers it will retire from combat. I don't know what the heck that could mean, but evidently the Japanese website reveals that the end of the Pokemon's name consists of Naito, which could mean night as in the time of day, or night as in like a knight in the king's army or something like that. I think a sword and shield styled knight makes more sense, and maybe this is a third legendary. But honestly, this is super cool. I think this is a nice way to reveal something and tease at a new reveal, and it kind of just harkens back to the old times when things didn't really have to try as hard, but even with something as simple as a blurred out, faked glitch screenshot, they could create a little bit of hype, so I'm excited for that. And finally, this last story is pretty crazy because it's something that's taken 20 years to happen. But yes, you know what I'm talking about. Ash from Pokemon has finally won at the Pokemon League. After many years of getting all the way to the league and either winning a couple matches or maybe losing very early on, Ash has finally done it. Does this technically make him a Pokemon Master? In some regard, sure, but it's not even the end of the series because now that he's won the league, he has the chance to go on to fight the masked dude at the end, like the super high champion or whichever. So yeah, on the 139th episode of Pokemon Sun and Moon, he finally won the league. Even CNN and ESPN have tweeted about this, which goes to show how big of an impact this even had on mainstream culture. If you told me 20 years ago when I first got into Pokemon that mainstream media would be eventually reporting on the predetermined animated outcome of a Pokemon League battle, I wouldn't have believed you. And I kind of still don't. But yes, Ash finally won the league by beating Gladion and his Lycanroc with his own Lycanroc. Ash's Lycanroc was in Dusk form, meanwhile Gladion's was in Midnight form, I believe. Some Lycanroc on Lycanroc crime, but still, he did it, and it's great to see the kid finally hoist the trophy above his head. If you remember back last time he made it to the league, him and Greninja took one of the most devastating losses of Ash's career, and people were genuinely mad about it. There were so many people on the internet that were saying, he finally made it this close, and then you took it from him, and he didn't win, and it was like, people were legitimately upset because they were really rooting for him. After years of being hopeless, there was finally that glimmer of light where it was like, he can do it, he can do it! Oh. It's great to see the kid finally win, and his mom and Professor Oak were right there with him. After years of fighting, the persistence has finally paid off. Ash always kind of went into things sort of stupidly. The kid was dumb and naive. He really just didn't know what he was doing. And even to this day, he's not that great of a trainer. Sure, he's grown a lot, but he's still just the same aged kid as he was so many years ago. He's remained always a child, mainly to show us that magic of continuing to fight on and be something in that world where you're even kind of minuscule in comparison to the rest of things, but even while doing so, you have a great time doing it. It means something to you, and honestly, it's not some empty, I just want to win thing. It's something that he does because he was truly passionate about it, and ultimately, in the end, he finally won the league. And really, it doesn't even seem to be that big of a deal to him. He held the trophy, Pikachu just kind of looked at it. His mom and Professor Oak were in the stands, happy to see him win, and as fans, we all sat there freaking out because it finally happened. And I think that's really special. The show didn't create some crazy fanfare and make it this absolutely over-the-top victory. It was pretty simple. Lycanroc went against Lycanroc. The one kept using counter, and he countered his counter and just gave him a nice punch in the face, and ultimately, Ash is a champion now. Does he wear that badge smugly, or does he continue on? Or could this even mean that maybe Ash's adventures are finally over? Only time will tell, but of course, as a diehard old-school Pokemon fan, I gotta say congratulations to Ash Ketchum, or Satoshi, for finally winning the league. Good on you, kid. Now you just gotta catch like 700 Pokemon or something like that. And that is going to do it. Honestly, this went a lot quicker than I thought, and hopefully I'll be able to edit it quickly because there was quite a few stories here. So, thank you so much for watching. If you did like the video, please make sure to leave a like on the video. Are you going to go see Promare in theaters? What was your favorite story? Go ahead and comment below and let me know. If you haven't subscribed already, I do a Weeaboo Wednesday every week that talks about anime news and all kinds of weeby garbage from Japan. So, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so that you get notified when I make videos. I just reviewed the Mewtwo figure since we just got done talking about Pokemon, so go check that out because even clicking it just helps me out, even if you've already seen it. Check out this super dope red figure with his Pikachu. Isn't that awesome? Wow. Until next time, Pokemon Masters, Weeaboos out. That was terrible. Don't ever do that again. You want to fight me? Drop a comment, I'll fight you in real life.